Let's return to This Week in America. Here's your host, Rick Bratton.
Welcome back, everybody. Coast to Coast, This Week in America. One reviewer said of Heaven's Magic Bubble Machine, it's one of the most heartfelt children's books I've read. Absolutely perfect for children who have lost a loved one. Heaven's Magic Bubble Machine by Terrel Yuki, affectionately known as Granny T, uses a positive, uplifting approach to comfort children who are grieving due to the death of a loved one. The book is about a little boy, Tommy, and Milo, his dog. Tommy's grandma, Betty, has gone to heaven. They miss her warm hugs when she used to tuck them into bed at night. As the story unfolds, Tommy learns that grandmas in heaven help build a magic bubble machine to send bubble hugs and kisses to loved ones on Earth. Then Tommy comes up with a plan so he can return magic bubbles to his grandma in heaven. Terrel Yuki and her husband Alan live with their frisky 4-pound Chihuahua in Southern California and Lake Tahoe, Nevada. Her two cockatiels, Kiwi and Potato Chip, sing beautiful melodies together in heaven. The author of Heaven's Magic Bubble Machine, Terrel Yuki, joining us on This Week in America. Terry, welcome to the program. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you, Rick. I appreciate you having me on your show this morning.
This is such an important topic and a message so well delivered in the book, Heaven's Magic Bubble Machine. What was the inspiration for you to write a book for grieving children?
Well, my inspiration probably started when I was a child, and my mother died from an accident when I was 12 years old. And my brother was 10 and my little sister was 6, and there was 3 of us still at home at that time. And as I grew up, I started seeing other families that were going through the same thing that our family went through when we were grieving a loss that was just devastating to our life. And I made a decision a long time ago that someday I wanted to do something to help children that were grieving. And it took me a long time to figure out what I wanted to do or how I was going to do it, but I think a germination was in my brain that wanted me to write a book so that children could hold it in their hands and have lots of colorful pictures and a happy message. And I did everything I could to make the book a happy book about a subject that is very difficult for children to deal with. I would guess that for a lot of children, it's probably as a child, one of the most devastating things that they will ever go through. And I just wanted to bring a smile to their face and give them some comfort and give them an outlet so that they could feel some connection to the people that they love that have gone to heaven. And as you mentioned, the main character is Tommy and his dog Milo. He is suffering from the grief, but throughout the book, because we're dealing with a positive message, he's able to channel his grief in a healthy way by sending the magic bubbles back to heaven to his grandma, because all it takes to send the magic bubbles is love and a wish when you're blowing your bubble and it goes back to heaven. And I've had feedback from people that have given it to children that have lost their grandparents or even their siblings or parents. And the children actually woke up one morning, one little girl in particular, and she woke up one morning and she had like red cheeks.
Yes.
And her mom says, "Oh my gosh, you have a rash on your cheeks. Let me put some cream on it." And the little girl says, "Oh no, Mommy, that's okay. Grandma kissed me last night with a magic bubble, so that's why my cheeks are rosy this morning." So that was probably one of the most inspiring things that I've heard, is that it really did help a child. So I feel that I can contribute something to helping children deal with their grief in a positive and healthy way.
Talk about using the magic bubble machine. I love this connection. It's sort of a two-way connection between Grandma and between Tommy and Milo and everybody here. Where did this idea for a magic bubble machine come from?
Well, that's an interesting question, because when I first started jotting down ideas for the book, I just kept a notepad, and every time an idea would come, I would write it down. And this went on over several year period. And I had the characters, and I had the mom and the dad, and I had the type of illustrations in my mind that I wanted to use. I wanted to be very colorful. I wanted a book that kids could hold and just keep going through it, and a hard copy so that it was strong and they could lend it to their friends and things like that. And I knew I wanted an activity for them to participate in to help them have fun with the situation in communicating back to heaven through love. And I couldn't come up with the activity. And I made a list, and I had my family helping me. I had friends helping me. And I had already hired a company to help me produce the book. And they were already coming at me for information to give them. And I really didn't have the activity. And it sounds strange, but this is exactly what happened. I just remember sitting at my desk thinking, I'm so stressed out because I'm not able to come up with this activity. I'm going to do something that I've heard so many people say, and that's just ask the universe to provide me the answer when the time is right.
Yes.
And that's truly what I did. And I said, from this moment, I am not going to worry about this anymore. I have to have faith that the answer is going to come to me. So one day I was working in the kitchen and I was washing dishes, and as I'm washing dishes, the word bubbles popped into my head. And I didn't connect it to anything. I just thought it had to do with my dish soap. And then later that day or the next day, I'm sitting at my desk and I'm doing something, and the word bubbles popped into my head again. And I thought, that's really odd. I don't know why I'm thinking about bubbles. And then just maybe an hour later, the word bubbles popped into my head, and I could visualize big, colorful letters, purple and green and yellow with the visualization of the word bubbles. And I still couldn't figure out what happened. And then all of a sudden I said, oh my gosh, this is the answer. It's bubbles is going to be the activity, because I wanted an activity that was wholesome and healthy and safe, something every kid could really afford to do. Bubbles aren't expensive. They're magical. Everybody loves bubbles. Kids love bubbles. Animals love bubbles. Adults love bubbles. And I thought, this is the perfect answer. So I didn't really have the bubble machine itself in mind initially. But as I came up with the bubble, or the bubble idea was provided to me actually, then it all evolved and I was able to come up with the bubble machine idea. And then I, had my family help me with the creation of the ideas. And I wanted it to be a very, my husband said, you want this bubble machine to be really, important, and lots of gadgets and lots of activity. And it just fit into my idea of making it a fun book for children. And it worked out very well. I really feel that the illustrations really help make the book. And they're fun to look at. I mean, they're fun. I wanted animals and babies and grandmas and grandpas and aunts and uncles. Everybody's involved with the bubble machine in heaven. And it's just wonderful. I really had a fun time.
The illustrations add so much to it. You've got the colors, you've got the pictures that draw your attention, and they add to the story. So as you're reading the story, or reading the story to a child, they've got the visualization that they can see the concept of what you're doing. And I love the magic bubble machine. They get this all figured out how to turn it on, then they have problems turning it off. So there are escapades that come about with the magic bubble machine as they're going through this process of trying to figure out how to return the bubbles.
We're talking about heaven here, Rick. They have lots of help. They can figure out anything.
It's such a charming book. It's been talked about as a book that's definitely nighttime to read to the child. It's a book that they suggest story time in school, even libraries, because it's a great message, and it's such an important message that you're getting to the child. How many children out there do you believe are in situations like you were when you grew up, that losing a loved one like you did?
Well, I started doing a lot of research when I knew I was going to come up with a book to help children. And I was surprised that 1 in 20 children, 1 in 20, which is a lot of children, suffer the loss of death of an immediate family member. That's father, mother, and sibling. I assumed grandmother would be the first, but it isn't. It's the father, mother, and then the sibling, and then the grandmother comes after that. And that's a pretty large percentage, and that's not including not immediate families. You know, there's going to have friends that have deaths, and there's going to be accidents of other family members and friends, but this is strictly immediate family members. And that's a lot of children. And
more than I would have guessed. Yeah, that percentage is quite high.
It is. And those children, you know, say they suffer a loss of a sibling, the family's still going to have other children that are there. So when they do suffer a loss, it's not just the child that's suffering the loss, it's the whole family unit that's suffering the loss. And everybody's going to be dealing with their own issues. So that's why it's really important for us as a society and people that are friends and family of these people that are suffering to be there to help them and help them get through this process. If I hadn't had such a wonderful family with aunts and uncles and cousins, it would have been a lot harder for me. I was lucky. Maybe some other kids aren't that lucky, and friends need to step in, neighbors. I mean, it doesn't have to cost a lot of money to help people when they're going through difficult times. If bringing in their trash cans on trash day is just a very small thing, but somebody that knows somebody cared enough about them to do that, that's a big thing. And we just need to let people know how much we care about them and that we're there to support them when they need it. I think when people do lose somebody like that, initially they don't really know what they need. So you offer support, and if you say something like, just let me know, I'd be happy to help you, they're not going to come to you.
Exactly, yes.
You need to be a little more specific and contact them at a little bit later date. If, say it's, you know, somebody at your child's school that they lost their father or their mother or their sister, you know, offer the parents, you know, my son and your son are such great friends. They, you know, they're in soccer practice together. Let me know if you need me to bring your son home from school. We can even bring him back to our house and we'll fix dinner and have fun with him. It's good for the kids to be together because they enjoy each other so much. And so you're helping the child and you're helping the parent that's left or the grandparent that's left, taking care of them by giving them a little break. Helping people doesn't necessarily have to cost money, and it doesn't. A lot of things don't cost money, but the thought that people want to be there for them is very important to them, particularly to children. Children need a connection, and they need to know that they can talk to people and that people will listen to them. They just need reinforcement because, you know, it's a devastating time for children to go through losing their loved ones.
And that's addressed in Terry's book. Terrel Yuki, our guest on the program, and that's Y-U-K-I, if you're Googling Terry's name. The book is Heaven's Magic Bubble Machine. Her website is very simple, heavensmagicbubblemachine.com. If you go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, you can link on directly and get information on Terry's book. It's available, of course, wherever books are sold. Talk about the challenges of doing this book. You've done such an excellent job of keeping this uplifting, keeping it positive, keeping a smile on our face. And people who've gone through situations can think of memories of loved ones who have passed as well. What was the challenge to balance that, to get the message across that, yes, there is a loss, in this case, Tommy's life and Milo as well, and keep it uplifting? You did an excellent job with that. How difficult was that?
Well, it was challenging, but I think because I took my time and didn't try to rush writing the book, and I kind of I would come up with ideas and then I would walk away from it and I would come back and reread it. And I just kept focusing on, we need to make this fun, we need to make it happy, we need to make it uplifting. And I dealt with the acknowledgement that Tommy was suffering from grief, but I also, throughout the book, showed how he had support and he had people that cared about him, people that understood him, and all those things made it a positive experience. And in the end, it ended up being happy because he was supported in coming up with his idea that if his grandma could send him loving bubbles from heaven, he could return them the same way. So it gave him an ability to come up with an idea, follow it through, and I think it empowered him. It made him feel like he had some control, which allowed him to be, channel his grief in a very constructive manner. Right. And that's how I was trying to look at it. But I really didn't rush. I don't know how long it takes people typically to write books because this is the first one I've written. I am working on an outline for a sequel to Tommy's story, but I'm not going to rush that either because because you have to keep going back and rereading it, and more ideas come after you put one sentence down. Then 4 ideas come later.
Exactly.
So I think, and because I could identify with Tommy. And I've known people that have gone through situations like this. Maybe it was easier for me to do that because I could identify with it. So I think a lot of our experiences in life that we go through ultimately help us help other people down the road. And that's what I was trying to do.
And you capture this unique relationship between grandmother and grandchild. That's so fascinating to watch that and the impact that she had on Tommy. A few minutes left in the program, but talk a little bit about that too, because that relationship is special, isn't it?
Well, I'm sure that's special for most everybody, but it's particularly special for me because my mother didn't get to meet my children, and so when I had grandchildren, I was so thrilled I couldn't see straight. I only have 2 children. I've ended up having great 8 great, wonderful grandchildren. And I just love them to death. And I think that helped inspire me because when my oldest 2 grandchildren lost their other grandmother, their dad's mother, they were only 5 and 3. And I noticed what they went through. And I was able to help them as well. And that may have helped me be added to my inspiration to do the book. Because the 5-year-old could sit and just hold her grandma's hand and she was just fine with it. She totally understood for some reason what was happening. The 3-year-old suddenly realized that if somebody could die and disappear on her, that could happen to a lot of people in her family. Suddenly she was very scared. So it, depending upon their age, it also is going to depend upon the way they grieve or how they deal with their fears. So we were able to work with her too, and it all worked out, and they're adults now. But that probably helped me, and I just know how much I love my grandchildren, and I know how much my grandchildren have been loved by all the other people in their life. So that part was relatively easy for me to do because I truly feel that love, and I know other people that give the same love to their grandchildren. So I like feeling like my grandchildren can send a bubble and send it to the grandma that they never met. And I hope someday they do that. They've been really supportive on the book.
Well, and I can understand that. This is such a touching book. Heaven's Magic Bubble Machine. Terrel Yuki, Y-U-K-I, our guest on the program. We've got a couple minutes left. It's always interesting when you're reading children's books. You do such a nice job with the illustrations, as I mentioned. They're not overwhelming. They're colorful. They're pleasing. It attracts your eye. It enhances the story. The vocabulary is so important as well. You've got it, and obviously spent a lot of time in doing that. Sometimes words are used that I'm not sure kids understand. Sometimes too many words are used and you lose the attention span of a young reader. Talk about going back and trying to perfect that. So you've got just the right words and words that are meaningful for the child.
Thank you. I worked hard on that. And one of the things I did is I printed off my manuscript from my computer and I had children read it. And I took it back when I visited my son. He has 4 children. I had them read it. I had my daughter-in-law read it. I had my son read it. I had my other grandchildren read it. I had people, and my daughter-in-law says, "Oh, this word's too big." Well, her 4-year-old daughter read it and she knew exactly what the word was. I don't even remember what the word was, but she says, "Oh, I'm surprised. I wouldn't have thought that she knows what that word means." So yes, because I have so many nieces and nephews and grandchildren of my own, I think I kind of knew the words to use for children, but that didn't stop me from having my grandchildren and other children read it too, before I ever had the book printed. They were kind of proofreaders before the real proofreaders got it.
So you got your own little market research group there that would go through, read, and give you advice.
All 12.
It's nice to have that because that was the audience. I'll close with how I began. One of the reviews, and I think they sum it up perfectly, one of the most heartfelt children's books I've ever read, absolutely perfect for children who have lost a loved one. And for adults as well. There's a lot there for everybody as you're reading the child the book, or reading along with the child, or reading to a group. I mentioned in library schools, that type of situation. The book is Heaven's Magic Bubble Machine by Terrel Yuki, Y-U-K-I. Books available wherever books are sold. I'll send you to her website, which is heavensmagicbubblemachine.com, and remind you can link on directly by going to our website, thisweekinamerica.us. And Terry, you mentioned working on a sequel. When do you think we'll have a chance to talk about that? You winced as I said that. So
I'm going to take my time, and I've already got some formulations in my mind on how the main characters and the main plot. And it's actually, I think it's going to be as fun as Tommy. It's just a little bit different. It doesn't really deal with death. It deals with animals helping other animals, and Tommy is part of the plot. And it's going to be a very uplifting book as well. It just deals with a different subject. And well, maybe in a year and a half or so. Well, I imagine. I don't know, because it took me 2 years to write.
Well, I was going to say, I asked that. I hesitated in asking because there's no pressure with that, because patience works for you. It's really something that's part of your writing style. You take your time and you get it right, and it has a very impactful message when the book reaches the marketplace. Terry, this has been so much fun. Excellent job with the book, Heaven's Magic Bubble Machine. Thank you for taking some time and spending with us, talking about it on the program. It's been a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Terrel Yuki, our guest, Y-U-K-I. The book is Heaven's Magic Bubble Machine. Our website, heavensmagicbubblemachine.com. And, of course, you'll find more information on our website, thisweekinamerica.us.
This Week in America is online. You can visit our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Scott Pinkerton, Associate Producer of This Week in America. Jay Anderson, Segment Producer. Ben Watson, Webmaster. Otto Bechet, Director of Engineering and TV Production. This Week in America produced and is a trademark of Blue Funk Broadcasting, LLC. For information on all of our guests and to listen to this week's show, our website again at thisweekinamerica.us. And I'm Sean Bratton, Executive Producer of This Week in America.